Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Danielle, for those of you who are new around here, and we are going into part 4 of our master bedroom makeover series today, where we are going to be talking all about paint choices and doing our very own DIY board and batten wall that I have set up behind me. It is almost finished, so I can't wait to show you all of the progress and how we went through and chose everything and decided to do everything. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. So like I had sort of mentioned earlier, we are not fully completed with our board and batten wall. It is almost done, which means it's really one of the last things that we are doing in this room before we start decorating. And I cannot wait because I have been waiting this entire time to decorate. My husband has been doing the majority of the work, as you've kind of already seen in some of our videos, because I'm not supposed to be around like paint or stain or any of the chemical-y smells since I am super duper pregnant. So he's been doing the majority of the work. So basically I just get to come up here and film the progress after it's done. But I've been loving watching the progress kind of go through and get completed. And I am super excited that now that the majority of the room is finished, I can actually start decorating very, very soon. My next 2 videos in this series are all going to be about decorating. They're going to be a thrift with me for the room, so you can see all the different things that we've picked up for the room over time. And then they will also be a full reveal of the room put together. So I can't wait for you to come back and see those 2 videos over the next several weeks. But with all that being said, let me start to show you exactly how we constructed this board and batten wall, as well as show you all the different paint colors, paint choices, decisions that we made for the room as well. So we waited to do the entire board and batten wall until our new carpet was installed in the space. And the very first thing that my husband did was he measured out about 4.5 to 5 feet tall. I think we decided to make the board and batten 5 feet tall, but we measured the wood out to be about 4.5 feet because we wanted to make sure we had space for the trim and the ledge on the top. So that's where the difference is. And my husband painted the entire wall first. He felt like this was going to be the best way to make the paint seem as seamless as possible across the wall. And it actually came out super lovely. I'm glad that he did this. I've seen other videos where people do the whole board and batten construction first and then they paint, but this just seemed to work very, very well for us. So then we pre-cut the wood at about 4.5 feet tall. And again, the reason why we did this is because we wanted to make sure that there was going to be enough space for the trim at the bottom. There was about a 5-inch piece of trim at the bottom and then another shelf that we did at the top. So altogether it came to about 5 feet tall. And then after that, this was actually us going through and trying multiple configurations to see how the wood should actually line up for the board and batten. And we had 2 different issues, not issues per se, but things that we wanted to make sure we did. You can actually see there's like a light switch on the wall there. We wanted to make sure that one of the boards didn't line up with the light switch and we'd be able to put a plate on it. So we tried to do all of the numbers for that. We also wanted to make sure that it lined up nicely with the window trim. So it took some time going back and forth, but we finally got everything to the exact specifications. I think we did about 13 inches between each board, and then the last 2 boards we did like a forced perspective where it was 12 inches, but you honestly cannot tell the difference between the 2. And then my husband made sure all of the wood was cut to the appropriate size, and we started getting everything organized. Now we were super lucky that the weekend that we planned to do this particular project, my parents decided to fly up from Florida. It was just kind of ironic that this was the weekend they chose to fly up because they wanted to spend some time with us before we actually started going into our next season of life, which was giving birth to our second son. So my dad was so gracious in helping my husband get everything organized. So my husband first started by putting wood glue on the back of these things. I believe it's called Tough as Nails. It's like basically like a nail-esque like adhesive. We did this in our wood wall in our basement reno video, and if you've not seen our basement reno video, that is an awesome video. I will link it below. And then my husband would take his nail gun and actually attach the board to the wall, so it is super duper secure. And then him and my dad measured out the top piece. Now for actually going through and talking about the dimensions of how everything came together, we ended up going to Home Depot and we purchased the 3-inch across boards that were 6 feet high. Now we only used 4.5 feet of those boards. We had to go with the 6-foot high ones because they didn't really have ones that were shorter than that, and we ended up getting use out of the extra pieces, so I'll talk about that in a second as well. And then at the top part of the board and batten, we used 2 other boards that were the 4-inch wide, 6 feet across board to give it a little bit more thickness at the top, to give it some added dimension, and I'm really happy with how all of that came together. We kind of did some research on our own to see what was the best dimension boards before we went out and bought them. And we went over to Home Depot, and originally we went to Lowe's because we had a gift card, and we saw these 3-inch boards. They were $11.68, and we thought that was quite a lot of money. They're pine boards, but for real wood, we were like, okay, we'll get a couple of these. So we ended up just purchasing, I want to say 2 or 3 of them, because they actually didn't have very many high quality ones in stock. A lot of them were beveled and not straight or flat. We happened to be at Home Depot a couple of days later picking out the carpet, and we noticed that they also had the pine boards, but the pine boards at Home Depot were only $4.58. So we literally got them for more than half the price at Home Depot, and they were much better quality. So if you're interested in doing this project, I know not every Lowe's and every Home Depot is going to be exactly the same across the country, but for us personally, we found that our Home Depot had a much better offering than the Lowe's. So I was really, really happy with the boards that we did find at Home Depot. And then we cut those down. Like I said, we cut the smaller boards, those 3-inch boards, to 4.5 feet. So we took 1.5 feet off the top so that it would fit properly. And those were for our larger boards. And then we had to cut some of them down even further. So the 2 boards that we put under the windows were cut to fit those dimensions properly. And then we did actually 2 more boards on the outside that we're going to be a little bit shorter as well, just because of the angle of the roof. If you are not dealing with an angled roof, then these dimensions are not going to help you. You can just do the full 4.5 feet across all the way, and then your larger board cut across as well. But because we had both the window and an angled roof, we had to go through and cut properly. And then we actually used some of the extra pieces, that like 1.5 foot piece, to do the cuts along the edge so that the whole wall was actually framed out with wood. And then I personally went through with some wood filler, and I filled in all of the nail holes and all of the seams so that everything was seamless. And my husband followed behind me with some caulk and made sure that all of the boards were caulked to the wall so beautifully. So once he caulked everything over, we let that sit for about 24 hours, and then he came through with a sander and he sanded out all of the wood-filled spaces so that everything moved smoothly together. Once everything was perfectly sanded, my husband came through with the shop vac and just made sure to clean everything up and make everything look lovely. Once all the sawdust was vacuumed through, I actually believe he took a very lightly damp rag and just went through and made sure there was absolutely no dust whatsoever on the wood. He then took the rest of the smokestack gray paint and he painted all of the trim. Now you can see in this clip that we didn't actually have the shelf on first. We did the basic area of the board first. So we did the basic board and batten design first, and then after that was done and painted and looked lovely, we added the top shelf as the finishing touch. And I absolutely love how it all came together. It looked so beautiful. You can see this quick clip of the board just being attached. Again, we did the nail glue and the nail gun to attach it and filled it in with the caulk. And then once that was dried, my husband painted the top as well and cleaned up all of the edges. I love how this came out. It is so stinking beautiful. It adds so much character and depth to the room. And now I finally feel like this room actually matches the rest of the house. It doesn't have a very 90s remodel look to it, but it actually feels like it was part of the house from the very beginning. So let's talk paint colors. I absolutely love this white color that we chose for the walls. It's called Dove. We got it from Home Depot from the Behr line, B-E-H-R, Behr line. And I have been purchasing all of my paint there for a really long time. I know a lot of people like Benjamin Moore and a couple of all those types of paint places, but honestly, I found that Home Depot has some really fantastic colors, some really great finishes on their paint, and they tend to be a little bit more affordable than the full-on paint stores like Benjamin Moore or Sherwin-Williams. So I was really, really happy with this paint color. It is a white color, but we also decided to go with a more taupey white there. So here's the thing. You're gonna kind of see like this before and after, right? It looks like it was white and like now it's white. So it doesn't look like we did a whole lot to it, but when you're in the space, you can really tell that the previous white not only had a weird glossier finish to it, but it also had a more grayish tone, where the new Dove colored white that we picked has more of a brownish undertone to it, more of that like natural neutral kind of color palette underneath the color. And it has just warmed up this space so much. It makes you feel so warm and cozy, which is exactly what you want in a bedroom. And then our secondary paint color that we chose, which you can see right here, this is kind of like our accent color, which we did both on the board and batten. And then we already had this wood paneling, sort of beadboard-esque wood, and then all of the trim is called a smokestack. We also got this from Home Depot from the Behr line, and I could not be more pleased with how these colors came together. So like when you go to Home Depot or really any sort of paint store, they tend to like stack the specific paints that kind of go well together or play off of each other nicely. And I found these two colors both in the like white but neutral-esque tone. It wasn't in the gray tone. It was more in the very like brownish neutral tan taupes kind of tone. So I found this beautiful color called Smokestack, and it paired so beautifully with the Dove white, and I absolutely love how it came out. So when we were again picking out colors, our entire house has colorful walls, and then it has very, very white trim. I've talked about this in a couple of different of my like home renovation videos. And if you haven't seen any of my home reno videos, I will have all of them linked below in a little playlist for you. But we use the color Polar Bear white for all of our trim. All of the trim in the house is Polar Bear white. So I like wanted to spice it up a little bit. I said to my husband, what if we did like white walls with a color trim, but like a very neutral tan color trim? And I just love how it came out. Not only is it absolutely beautiful on the walls, like I said, it's very cozy, comforting, calm. It makes the whole room feel just very comfortable. It's a very comfortable space. But we picked this beautiful carpet that I also love that has almost the exact same tones, like reflected from the wall and the trim in the carpet as well. So everything just rounds off together so nicely, which I was very excited about to see it all kind of come together. When they put the carpet in and then my husband put the trim up on the wall, I was like, wow, that looks so, so nice. It plays so beautifully together. So it all is super lovely. I love how it's coming along, and we just have a little bit more to do on our board and batten wall, and we are good to go in this like immediate space. Now we did pick one other color in the entire room. So before I get into that, when we picked paint, I've showed you guys this room a couple of times, but it is a very, very large room. And I didn't want it to just be saturated in white, which is why we decided to do the board and batten wall. So basically that entire one wall is this smokestack color, which is beautiful. And then on the other side of the room, we actually have my walk-in closet, which if you missed that video of my husband remodeling that entire closet, I will link it in the description bar below, because we did a beautiful remodel of that closet. It was very kind of piecemeal DIY before, and I did not like it at all. So what my husband did to it is absolutely beautiful. But we are painting the doors also the smokestack gray. So you have kind of this contrast on either side of the room of the smokestack sort of taupey brown gray color that accents, like I said, both sides of the room, so you get that dark tone. And then right in the center of our room, going down the steps, is our stairwell, and then it also continues down this stairwell as well. So you get these like nice chunky pops in different areas of the room, so it doesn't just feel like it's a completely white room with no sort of contrast to it. But then the kind of one beautiful contrasting like big bold color that we decided to do was with our bookcase. We had a built-in bookcase that came with the house. It was there when we bought the house. And as you kind of had seen from our like start to finish sort of process, all of the wood tones in this room were very, very yellowy, orange colored. They were not attractive. They were very 90s toned. So we wanted to do something to liven up that space, which is why we painted the smokestack on all of the wood paneling going down the stairwell. And we had originally just talked about continuing that color all the way through the built-in bookcase as well. And then I kind of threw an audible at my husband, and I was like, hey, this was literally like he was taping up the room to start painting it. And I was like, hey buddy, what would you think if we colored the bookcase like a bold color, like either a dark green or a dark blue? And he turned to me and said, hey, I still have like basically an entire can of paint from the kitchen cabinet remodel that we did just a year or two ago. And I was like, I love that color. It's one of my most favorite colors that we've ever picked. It's called Adirondack Blue, again from Home Depot. And we already had the paint sitting in our basement. So I was like, yes, I'm on board. I absolutely love that idea. So at the last minute, he grabbed that paint. He painted the entire bookcase this beautiful deep blue color. It just has that like very colonial vibe to it, and I absolutely love how the bookcase came out. I know a lot of people like to style their bookcases with like all sorts of fun different things, and maybe I'll do that in the future, but also we love books. We have so many books, all different types of books, like books from when we both studied in our master's programs, books from different fiction genres that we like, just all sorts of books. So it is very filled with some of our most favorite books, and probably will stay like that for quite a while, but I don't know, maybe I'll add some fun flair to it over the years. We'll see once it becomes like a functional bookcase for us, because it was always just kind of like a storage space for us for all of our books and whatnot all over the years, because we were never really using this room on a regular basis. So we'll see once like I kind of get into the vibe of coming up here every single day, like, hey, am I going to get bored with just seeing all these books? But probably not, because we absolutely love books. We buy way too many books, and I don't even care because I love them so much. But I absolutely love how the bookcase came out. It looks absolutely beautiful, and I am super, super happy with just how all of the paint palette and tone has come together throughout this entire project. So like I said, I am just so in love with how all of the colors came together, how everything feels so cozy and lovely. I love how the board and batten adds just so much character to the room, how the paint colors add so much character and just warmth to the room. It is so beautiful, so stunning. I can't wait to be moved up here and living up here full time because it is such a lovely, comfortable space. And I am so thankful for you guys tuning in to this video. If you have not seen the other videos that are a part of this renovation series, I will have the playlist linked below so you can see all the other things that we've done to update this space. And like I said, I will have a few new decorating videos, thrifting videos for this space coming. I have thrifted so much stuff for this space. I absolutely love it. So definitely check back next Thursday for our next installment of this video. Subscribe if you are new and click the like button. I'm so grateful for you, friends, and I will see you very soon. Have a great day. Bye.